Since the beginning of the Amiibo meta, Ridley and Mii Gunner have been unanimously A+ tier. A+ tier is kind of like the UUBL, if you're familiar with Smogon tiering. We'd occasionally see glimpses of brilliance from both of them, where Ridley would be briefly in S tier, Mii Gunner would be briefly in S tier. But it wasn't consistent enough to really warrant a placing like that on the next tier list. If you go to my website, amiibodoctor.com/tier list, you look at the oldest tier list we have, they've been A+ tier since February 2021, which is the oldest tier list I have on that page. That is over. Look at this. This is the automatically generated Amiibots tier list. This is real time, so if you go to the page, it'll be slightly different, but you'll notice that Mii Gunner and Ridley both are at the top half of S tier. Compare that placement with the other opponents in the Amiibots tier list. If you look at the most recent USAC Amiibo tier list, you can see that pretty much everybody on the Amiibots S tier is generally considered S tier, except for Mii Gunner and Ridley. Why is this the case? It's the case because a handful of trainers are kicking ass with these characters. We'll start with Ridley because I have footage of him. Look at this. This is, at the time of recording this voiceover, the top 10, top 6 Ridley on Amiibots, vanilla rule set. Do you notice anything particular about this? That's okay, take your time. That's right, the two Ridleys at the top are leagues above all the other Ridleys. Pretty much every Ridley except for those two that still places high is a 35 pointer. For comparison, this Ridley is at like a 38.5, and the best Kazuya is a 39.5. The best Ridley is 1 point away from being better than the best Kazuya in the meta. Now look, we're at sort of the late stage of the Amiibo meta, okay? We're not talking about making 5 and 10 point jumps, we're talking about very marginal half and 1 point improvements over our previous Amiibo. So that 1 point is still a pretty wide gap. However, it's definitely possible. Let's not rule this out. It's very easy for me to imagine, especially given Ridley's brutally lethal down B and his massive bulk and range. It's easy for me to imagine a scenario where Ridley is actually briefly outranking the best Kazuya. On to Mii Gunner. I do want to take a bit of a victory lap here, not because I deserve any sort of credit, because I don't, but because I have insisted for a long time that Mii Gunner was capable of being S tier, and my reasoning for this was pretty straightforward. Mii Gunner has the bulk, has a great recovery, missile is ridiculously good, it's almost like Min Min's smash attacks, and she has the forward and up smashes that are practically unbeatable, possibly best smashes in the game. Except that's mostly crap and I don't deserve a victory lap at all. Now I don't have footage for you of this Mii Gunner, but I did see it in action a few weeks ago. If I remember correctly, it wasn't like the optimal Mii Gunner playstyle that I imagined. Spent most of its time in the air. When it was on the ground, yeah, it had forward smash and missile, but for the most part, it actually fought quite flexibly, was not very linear at all. Pulling up the Amiibots stats, we can see that Sniper by I love Team Fortress 2. Razor Force's Sniper is in the top, and we don't have as much of a two representative standing as we do with Ridley. There's actually been more of a gradual improvement over Mii Gunner, so I think that credit for this improvement can be attributed to a lot of people. Look, this is a very exciting time for the Amiibo meta, okay? And the trainers of these Amiibo deserve tons of congratulations. I want to keep pushing innovation like this, so I'm going to make an open invite. If you're in first or second place on an Amiibo character in Vanilla or the Spirit's Big 5 band rule sets on Amiibots, you have an automatic invite to write a training guide for that character for amiibodoctor.com. Reach out to me through Discord or at amiibodoctor@gmail.com to get started on this. Let's kickstart the next wave of innovation in the Amiibo meta. I don't want this to end with Ridley and Mii Gunner. Thank you very much for watching, and let's keep the Ridley Revolution going.